Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Film Seizure. I'm Jason Oliver.
I am Jeff Arbuckle.
And
I'm Chuck Moore.
yes, that's right. We have Chuck Moore back for another episode of Film Seizure here. And we are talking this week, about the 1982 film Next of Kin.
Yeah, I love Patrick Swayze in this movie.
He's dreamy. He's dreamy.
He's very dreamy.
He's very dreamy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you jumped right in there because I was going to qualify the fact that this is not...
Wait, what?
It's not?
We did not watch the Patrick Swayze
watched the wrong
movie
one,
Next
Chuck.
of Kin.
Oh, jeez.
There is another movie, Next of Kin, from 1989, starring the
incomparable,
the dreamy,
Handsome.
the dearly departed Patrick Swayze.
but that's not what we watched. What's this one about?
So, 1982's Next of Kin is kind of one of those movies that came around the end of the Australian New Wave period of their sort of filmmaking boom in Australia.
Ozploitation.
Yeah, the Ozploitation movement within Australia. Yeah.
Appropriately
Yes.
named,
yes.
I guess.
They and it's funny. For a long time before I understood what Ozploitation was, I thought it was like
Wizard
some kind
of
of weird
Oz?
Wizard of Oz
Yeah.
thing. Yeah,
Like
yeah. I
Wizard
was like,
of Oz
what?
porn?
I was like, yeah. What the fuck is this? And it took me a little while and a little bit of research to realize, oh, it's like just the pronunciation. Yeah, kind of weird.
It's movies only made in the Outback Steakhouse.
Yes, with bloomin' onions.
Yeah.
Yeah, bloomin'
Aussie
onions.
balls.
Aussie bloomin' onions. Which, incidentally, the theme song, the music for Outback Steakhouse, I can't. It's not. I can't do it. I can't do the hum the tune. You know
You
how
can't
I
hum
am.
a
You
tune?
know how I am with
You
humming
can't
tunes.
hum a tune?
But it's that it's that song by Jesus Christ.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I remember. He had a few.
We Come From a Land Down Under?
Well, I'm gonna blow this
Men at
because
Work?
I
Is
can't
that Men at
remember.
Work?
No, it's not Men at Work.
That is Men at Work,
Yeah.
but that's not the
of
Outback.
Montreal. Of Montreal.
Yes.
They somehow, I don't know how that happened, but they licensed one of their songs to Outback Steakhouse, and they turned it into an Australian hit.
They probably got a lot of money for
They
it.
probably did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I think they're an American band with a Canadian name
That are huge
in Australia. But yeah, we're already way off track.
It's all staying in.
This is good.
It's all staying in.
But yeah, so the Australian New Wave. This is kind of one that I dug into just recently. I know, Jeff, that you're a big fan of this film movement.
Yes. Particularly stuff like Patrick, Thirst.
I'm going to crack a Foster's here. There we go.
Something for beer.
Fucking liars. Those
Right?
are Miller
Foster's.
Yeah.
Something for beer.
Yeah, I fucked that up earlier. We have fun when we watch movies. Yes.
But yeah, Patrick,
Thirst. Thirst is one I like.
Snapshot.
Snapshot, yeah.
That's a big one.
Absolutely.
The day after Halloween, which
Yes.
is how it was sold in the United States.
Which is funny because, well, just go and read my B-movie enema. That just came out a couple weeks ago. So, oddly enough, on the day after Halloween.
Wow.
there's
Right?
That is odd.
there's a really good documentary, not quite Hollywood,
that's good stuff.
that digs it's a really nice deep dive into the Ozploitation movement, and it really talks about the early sort of boner comedies that in a lot of ways launched this movement. But then there was kind of this strange thing where you had these really amazing Australian art pictures that were being produced right alongside these very like horror centric or action oriented, like kind of like these lowbrow movies
Oh my
and these
God,
highbrow
wait.
movies that were being produced in tandem.
There's the one that everybody knows.
What's that?
Mad Max.
Oh, of course, Mad Max. Yeah,
Mad Max is part of this movement, and
I just think
that's the one everybody knows.
I just think it's funny that you've got movies like in 1975 you have The Man from Hong Kong,
Yeah.
which is a pretty famous kung fu movie. that was Australian produced. That was produced the same year as Peter Weir's Picnic at Hanging Rock.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that is the Australian new wave in a nutshell. It is the yin and yang of high and low brow, and it's kind of fucking awesome. But they produced about 150 movies, or no, sorry, more than that, but 400 movies, I think, in 15 years, which was more movies than the country of Australia had produced in their entire history. They did it in that 15-year time span. They just were cranking them out. And a lot of them were kind of masked as European or U.S.-based productions.
Yeah, we kind of talked about this a little bit where there, like Mad Max does not feel inherently Australian.
Right.
Thirst feels vaguely North American. Probably doesn't hurt that that also Thirst had a mix of British actors like David Hemmings, and then you also had Henry Silva, who's an American actor in that movie. So there's a feel to it that doesn't feel like you can place it directly in Australia. Yeah,
I mean, some were just flat out like they tried to make you think it was in the U.S. I think that Road Games did that. I'm pretty sure that you've got Peter Weir's Cars That Ate Paris, an Australian production that takes place in Paris, right? I did air quotes in case you couldn't see me. Yeah,
that was for Chuck's benefit.
Yes. We'll pretend, for the sake of this podcast, that I know nothing about this movement they are talking about. I'm very well versed in this, but I'm going to pretend that I am dumb.
He's just sitting in judgment of what we have to say, just in case we fuck up.
Yes. I'm grading this podcast.
And I mean, big careers were launched
C+
out
so
of
far.
this movement. You had C+. We got to get that up.
Yeah.
We gotta bump that up to a B-.
You had big careers launched out of the Australian New Wave movement. You had Mel Gibson, obviously, is the biggest one, but maybe not the biggest one. Now, when you consider Nicole Kidman came out of this movement, she was BMX Bandits. Yeah.
I've got that. That's someday coming to you for B movie Enema.
Yeah.
What year was that?
83, I believe.
So she must have been fairly young.
She was a teenager, I believe.
Yeah, she was.
Because she was pretty young in Days of Thunder, which, of course, is the only thing I remember her from is Days of Thunder.
Days of Thunder.
I fucking love that movie.
Yeah, you do.
Well, she's always also played Irish. We talked about Far and Away briefly the other week. Yeah. But then you also have kind of like this sort of Australian fetishism that came out of this movement too. I grew up with the movie The Man from Snowy River, and that was always it was unabashedly Australian, that movie, and with Australian accents and Australian actors. Even though Brian Dennehy, I believe, was the antagonist in that, and I think he's not Australian at all. But
no.
But I feel like was one of those sort of co-productions between a major studio and Australia.
Well, of course, there's Crocodile Dundee. I mean, that's
right.
Everybody
Absolutely.
our age grew up with.
Absolutely. And then it just sort of fizzled out in the late 90s.
Well, that's probably all thanks to Yahoo Serious.
Probably. Well, yeah, one of the last ones I would say from the new wave would be like Young Einstein.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, oddly enough, I will say this from my perspective. Maybe this will help us get it bumped up to a B in Chuck's book. But as I was working on the article for B Movie Enema for Sheborg.
Oh, we're definitely in B territory now.
Yes. That's a
I get
fun
it.
movie.
I get it. I'll raise it
Uh,
just for that joke.
Yeah, there is much like there is a underground exploitation movement over here, which I'm also quite well versed at, as Jason knows. But it's also the same thing is happening over in Australia. There are these small production companies that are just cranking out movies like hey, let's make movies like we used to, have like a post-apocalyptic or some sort of maybe not Sheborg wasn't a post-apocalyptic, but there is certainly a sense of dystopia, even though it was just present day normal.
Well, you're hitting on another type of Australian New Wave film, and that's the one where Australia is the enemy. Like Australia is the antagonist. Right.
Well, in this, it was literal alien.
Well, I know.
She-board.
From Australia.
But you
Just so happens.
but you definitely had like the ones where they were trying to hide it was Australian. The ones where Australia was sort of fetishized, and then you had the ones where Australia was like everything will kill you, which I think is probably the most accurate
Well, yeah, we got those
portrayal of
spiders.
Australia. Because like Wake and Fright. Have you ever seen Wake and Fright?
I have not.
Wake and Fright
That's every morning.
is the most terrifying Australian film I've ever seen, and I've seen quite a few. And it is literally
Like
about
killer kangaroos and stuff.
well, yeah, I mean they kill kangaroos in it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's sort of famous for that scene actually, where they go on a kangaroo hunt and they actually film the killing of kangaroos, which is pretty disturbing.
Ugh.
But it's
we
but
ran
it's sort
into
of
that
like
in Italy.
Yeah,
it's sort
we
of
did.
like the redneck Australian film, right? Like the people of Australia are backward.
The Australians have eyes.
Yeah,
kind of thing? Okay.
yeah. And if you get off the wrong train in the wrong town, Australia will fuck you up.
It's a U-10.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
All right.
That's probably pretty bad.
But there were movies like that. A lot of
Sure.
like Australian movies were exploited for their danger.
Well, I think I've not seen any of those types of, other than like it seems like everything in Mad Max is scary,
Right.
But I can understand that, right? Because like the Outback is this mysterious plot of nothing for almost as large as our entire country.
Yeah.
I'm probably being a little.
Well, it's a continent.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like the Outback, you think everything you think of in Australia, aside from Tasmanian devils, are along the eastern seaboard. Seems like the rest of the continent is backwoods, barren, scary.
I had a moment like that with this film, actually, like just the very opening part of it. And I don't know if I'm getting ahead of us.
No, go.
But
It's
she's
good.
driving through the desert, basically.
Yeah,
And everything is brown. And then
Yeah.
she goes over a small bridge on a river, and then you have a little bit of lushness, like just a line of lushness along the water.
yeah.
And then she rides back into the brown again.
I kind of feel like some of that is just also kind of setting you up for your tone too. But you're right.
Yep.
It's like there's nothing around the setting of this movie. There's a
Right.
gas station / diner. There's the was essentially the VFW hall.
Yeah, the firehouse.
To the firehouse, yeah,
Right.
but it's run like it's the fucking veterans of foreign wars.
Yeah, they're playing
Yeah.
bingo and stuff like that.
Yep.
right.
There's
less
one
drinking, more thinking.
There's one small, maybe little wooded area.
yeah,
Yeah,
but it's not
it's very sparse.
it's not very alive,
No.
which also kind of sets you the tone that this movie takes place in a old folks home.
Yeah.
that's really not very alive.
You're surrounded by death. Even the town is dead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Except for she's oddly, that Montclair is oddly vivacious looking.
Yeah.
There's a lot of green around it. And
Well, because Lance is out there
yeah,
taking care of it.
Good old
Yeah.
Lance.
good old Lance.
And you also kind of get the sense from her, like she's brought some new energy and new life to it as well. So to set this up, she has her mother has passed away, who has run this retirement home at this large mansion that she was left to by her parents called Montclair. And she has passed away, and she has bequeathed all of her worldly belongings to her daughter, Linda, who has been away for quite some time. She has left this town. She has moved. I believe it's implied that she's moved somewhere north, probably to Sydney or some other big town where she works at a school for
mentally challenged.
children, right? And she has come back to the small town that she grew up in and was raised in to take over the responsibilities of this retirement home that her mother left her. So that's kind of the setup. What I like about this movie from the start is the tone it sets immediately. You don't necessarily know it to start, but it starts with the end. And I always love when
Right.
a movie does that.
Yeah.
It gives you something that is going to bookend the film, and you're not quite sure what's happening when this happens. She comes out of this convenience store. She comes around the side of the truck to get in, and it's in slow motion. You hear the voiceover of her mother saying, basically giving everything you need to know about why she's here.
Right, and she's dirty and bloody, and she looks pretty
like
pretty
she's
bad
having an
off.
adventure. Yeah.
So it's a good. They're diametrically opposed.
Yeah.
She's getting great news from her mother, while she looks like she's been through hell.
Right. Yeah, and then it gives you your credit sequence, which is a really cool title sequence. And then she's driving the same truck, but it's pretty clear that this is not the same. That's not a continuation of the same scene. She's in the truck with the little boy, and she's driving, and she seems pretty carefree.
Yeah, everything's good.
So there's immediate disconnect, which you're totally disoriented from the start.
Right.
You're not quite sure what's happening. You know what's happening, but you're not quite sure what you're supposed to feel. And I like that.
Right.
That you're sort of unsettled right out of the gate.
Yeah, and well, you brought up the carefree. I mean, like, everybody's happy to see her back in town. There's, I guess you could say that is part of the bringing a new life back to the town or whatever. And everybody in town knew her mother, knew her.
Yeah.
So you do also, even though everything is very sparse, there is still that small town feel.
And she feels a little uneasy. She mentions it to
A little
her.
unwelcome.
Yeah, right. And I like that. I like that scene where she meets her old ex-boyfriend for a date, and they go and they hang out, and they seem to be kind of falling back into something
Right.
that they had before, and it's really sweet. And then she mentions to him, he kind of pulls it out of her, but she mentions that she feels a little bit unwelcome, and he is like, well, what do you expect? You left. You've been gone a long time. No one's heard from you in for a long time.
Right.
It's not that you're unwelcome. They're just curious. They don't know.
It takes time for you to get back into.
Don't know how
Right.
to interact with you.
Yeah.
Right. And it just feels so natural. Like that seems to just make a lot of sense. And
yeah, I also. Oh damn! I lost my train of thought. It was along those same lines.
you also really like Linda right from the
Yes.
start.
Right.
I mean,
she is a likable person.
She gets to the retirement home. I call it a convalescent home. Same thing. The retirement home, and she's so good with this one older gentleman who lives there, Lance.
He just wants to help out. He
Yeah.
You get the impression that he's bored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, this is what I'm going to be
He's
like.
a former vet of some wars. You find out in great detail
Yes.
later.
He's
It's one
used
of
to
my
having
favorite
things to
scenes.
do.
Yes. But yeah, she obviously she knows him for so far. However long she's been gone, he's been there the whole time because
Yes.
she had a relationship with him, and they fall right back into that
Yeah.
thing. Like, she's his, feels like her totem, for lack of a better
a grounding
term, grounding for her. Yeah, that's a better term.
Absolutely. That's a good. I never didn't think about that. I sort of thought of him as a father figure, but you're right. It's a little bit different. It's more of a familiarity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something else that I like about you don't know anything about her dad.
Yeah, you don't.
That I don't know if that's necessarily deliberate or it's just not important. But
It's literally never brought up.
Not once.
Not once.
Not once. It's almost like she's immaculately conceived.
Yes, by her mother and her aunt.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. Ooh. I like that idea.
Yeah.
Write that down for a sequel. I thought you were writing. Oh,
No,
you were just making
I was just
doodles.
making doodles.
So she shows back home. She's with Lance. Everything's kind of pretty looking at first, and Lance is watering the flowers, and was like, "Oh, everything is great." And then it rains.
Yeah. Well,
Like
a storm comes in, and then
Yeah.
she's like, "Oh, never mind that," and she's pulling him away so they can go get the sheets and the
Yeah.
laundry,
Right.
and he's still watering.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's when they were folding the laundry that it begins storming. But it's sweet, you know. You got these
Right.
two people who seem to really like each other, and you always have to be careful and worried a little bit when you're watching a horror movie and you see a bunch of old people. It's like, oh no, are they going to be the bad guys? Or Are they
Right.
going to be the fodder?
If this movie was made in 2012 and not 1982, those old people would have been the bad guys.
Yeah.
Or they would have relied on them for all the scares. And
Right.
there is a little bit of that in this.
But it's real downplay.
I agree.
Yeah.
Which makes it more effective
Yeah.
that they're used sparsely in that way.
Yeah.
And usually in their own...
I mean, the horror is being inflicted upon them.
Right.
Yes.
And some of them are more aware of that than others.
Right.
Lance, I don't think, is even necessarily aware of the horror that's happening around him, but it directly inflicted upon him.
I think there's a point where we haven't gotten there yet, but I'll mention it. He knows something is off.
Yeah.
And he knows what is off.
Well, when she
But
asks,
he doesn't articulate
when she
it.
asks about
Yes,
her Aunt
yes.
Rita.
So I don't know if we want to...
Right.
Well, we'll get there eventually, I think. But yeah, it's because they do mention that the doctor mentions that with every stroke that Lance has had, he lives more and more in the past.
Right.
Yeah.
So when he says something, when we get to that, the doctor kind of brushes it off as, oh, he doesn't know when it is or what,
Right.
He's still living in that past.
Right.
So yeah, I mean yeah, it's like, I don't, old people are very interesting when it comes to horror, right? Because who generally consumes horror? The young.
Right.
Yes.
And so the old is something that the young will always be scared of.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Not so much that they're scared of their grandpas or whatever, but they're scared of mortality.
It's their future.
Yeah, and it's their future.
Yeah.
They will someday, no matter how strong and virile they are today, they are going to be old and decrepit, and that hits right around the age of 40.
Yep.
I think
can
at the
tell
age of 40, you start to hope you can make it there. Every time before then, you're worried.
You're worried about being
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's yep.
But
Heard.
but yeah, so it's nice and neat to see that being used in a different way. That's not the source of the horror.
Yeah. Yeah. What I also like about the first act of this movie is all of the misdirection. This movie tries to present itself to varying degrees of success as a haunted house movie.
Right.
Right down to her mother's diary, where she said there's something evil in this house. Right.
Yes.
It gives you all of those tropes that this house is haunted.
Yep.
And I love movies that do that. I love the misdirection, especially in a haunted house movie where it's so overdone with that stuff, right? And this is a movie that's, 30, 40 years old almost. God damn, almost 40 years old.
Yeah.
And it was already sort of subverting the haunted house film.
Right.
Sorry, spoilers, but this is not a haunted house movie.
No.
Well, no, it isn't. It's an old dark house movie.
Yeah.
Which sometimes is haunted, sometimes isn't.
And the cool thing is, I want to bring up the scene because we're almost there anyways. The movie tells you at one point exactly what it is.
Yep.
When I don't remember this gentleman's name, but Linda doesn't want to take any new patients. She plans on selling the Montclair home after everyone has passed,
Basically, she's running out the clock.
Yeah, she's running out the clock. And she's told that somebody new is coming. Well, that somebody new, a van pulls up onto the driveway, lightning strikes and knocks a tree over in front of the van.
Now, this...
Go ahead. Go with your thing.
Well, no, I was just going to say this whole thing here is symbolic, but we'll get to that later.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm talking about the symbolism of
Yep.
the ghost, the haunting story.
Yes.
So when the tree goes down, a young man gets out of the car. He goes around the car to grab something. Then all of a sudden we're presented with this woman sitting on the tree, right? And it
Just
looks like
quick cut.
Yeah, quick cut. And it looks like there's a ghost sitting on the tree. But then we see the young man come back around the van
with
a wheelchair.
Yep.
And we find out this woman is real. So
Yeah.
that's the whole gig is given to you right then. Hey, there's a ghost. No, it's not a ghost.
It's not a ghost.
Yeah.
However, you don't realize beyond creepy imagery that this is an incredibly important duo.
Yeah, I mean,
before
it's
the end of the
super
movie.
important to the story, and you're almost taken out of
You
giving
almost-
them any credit as being important
because you've been
of
taken away
yes.
that ghost. Right.
Yeah.
It's the old misdirection. It's,
Yeah.
it's a counter gap.
It's a double misdirection.
It is.
The only other scene where something doesn't feel right is when the younger man who brings seemingly his mom to the retirement home.
When he's driving down
is
the road.
driving down the road
Yeah.
in the van.
Agreed.
And he drives up next to her in her car, Linda's car.
Linda's truck.
Or Linda's truck, yeah, sorry. And is kind of like pointing at her and laughing and kind of like
Making smoochy faces.
yeah, he's
But I
kind
was
of
thinking
flirting
the whole time is like, is this guy smiling or is this maniacal? Like,
Right.
really, you get that feeling.
Absolutely, it
Yeah.
feels intimidating.
It's
Yes.
predatory
Yeah.
at the very
Yeah,
least.
yeah, absolutely. And she takes it in stride, but
Yeah, she's a happy-go-lucky girl. She takes.
but
this-
she's also kind of like, what the fuck, you
right.
know?
She's like get around, like
Yeah.
she's waving him by. She's
Yeah.
but that's also an effective scene too.
Yeah.
Because she is consistently presented with danger because she meets her old boyfriend. What was his name?
Barney.
Barney,
Yes.
like Barney Rubble.
Barney. He's kind of doofy, but you're not really sure. He sometimes does sinister things.
Barney?
It's kind
He's
of.
used sinisterly, like when
At
he
least
comes
in
in
the
through the
early-
window.
He's used sinister.
I don't think he is sinister. I
Right.
think they film him.
Yes,
that
it
way.
is another misdirect.
It's
And
another
this
misdirect.
is something that
Yes. Yeah.
certainly I think is a trope of the Australian Ozploitation type stuff because Day After Halloween does it too with a boyfriend character,
And he's
it's just
also
like,
the yokel.
he is kind of a
you know?
yokel because he is so laid back. He doesn't seem to take anything seriously, and it almost makes you believe that he's in on it and he's just being
Aloof?
He's
Or
aloof
we're-
and bad at the misdirect.
Right. Yeah. He was suspicious to me a few times because of the way they shot him.
You were flat out calling him a murderer.
Yeah. Well, no, he's the Wolf Creek murderer in the future.
He is.
Jason told me this.
This is true. I did mention that. I mentioned that Barney he's the most famous actor in this movie by a long shot. Barney was played by, hold on, I'll pull his name up here, John Jarrett. He has been in everything.
John Jarrett?
He's been in everything
Very British.
Australia.
Hugh Jackman.
He's probably been on everything Australian for the last 40 years, but he is probably best known in the States as Mick Taylor, who is the antagonist of all of the Wolf Creek horror films and the Wolf Creek TV series. I think I
I've not
only
seen
ever
any of
saw.
that.
I think I only ever saw the first Wolf Creek movie, which was pretty scary.
I saw some of the TV series.
Did
I
you?
believe.
I heard it was
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah.
But he plays Mick Taylor, the scary Australian killer
Taylor was a
in
was a
all
Rolling
of those.
Stone.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say, but he's not American. He couldn't be the drummer for the
He
Rolling Stones.
he was also in 94 episodes of McLeod's Daughters.
McLeod!
I think that my parents watched that show. It was a pretty popular sort of Australian Western,
Was it like Little House on the Prairie?
sort of, maybe, kind of, yeah.
But not at all like McLeod.
Not at all like the Highlander, no.
Or no, I was talking about the show with Dennis Weaver. McLeod.
I don't know.
I don't know that
Oh, well,
show.
that's a good show. That's
No.
a damn good show. He's like this New Mexico like ranger guy, and he gets he's part of a cop swap with New York City.
Oh.
And so he's bringing like this old, southwestern sensibility to the big city, and really irritates his chief.
Oh, so
It's
like the Midnight
fantastic.
Cowboy.
Or like
Sorry,
Alien
that was
Nation.
totally unrelated.
Yeah, it's exactly like
Exactly like Alien Nation. Anyway,
Yeah, so
McLeod's Daughters ran, I think, in like from 2001 through the mid 2000s or something, and he was on a lot of episodes of that. But yes, I told. Yeah. He was also in Django Unchained,
Yes.
which I think that a lot of that is because Quentin Tarantino is a big fan of Next of Kin.
Of course he
yes.
is.
Of course he is.
Of course.
And-
I'm sure he's written thousands of words on it.
I
And-
bet you if we watch a movie of his, we can find.
He's actually
something that's
on
relevant.
the damn box. As he's got a quote on the
course
Severin
he is.
release of this. Yeah.
You're pushing all of Jeff's buttons.
And he was interviewed in Not Quite Hollywood about this movie
Of course he was.
specifically.
No, of course.
But
Thank
Jeff
you,
has got Jesus.
He hates him even.
But he was one of
Existential.
the LeQuint Dickey Mining Company employees in Django Unchained. In the scene where Quentin Tarantino totally embarrasses himself with the worst Australian accent I've ever heard.
Of course, he
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
Of course he does. So back to the movie. Jeff was saying that Barney was in the woods with Linda. Barney's kind of disappeared after
Yeah.
he chases her into the woods.
Yeah, it's very
And
playful.
She's being playful, like, oh, I know you're hiding, but then she sees someone standing.
And
Yeah.
he's built a lot like Barney because she's like, Barney, what are you doing over
Another
there?
ghostial
Yep.
kind of sighting
Yeah,
in this
sure.
film.
It's
Very much
ghosticular.
so.
And then
Ghosticular.
We
huh?
think ghosticular. Barney shows up behind her, so we
Yes.
know whatever
So
she sees,
is not
if
Barney.
she's seeing it, is not Barney.
Right.
And
There's
then
a
he
lot
looks,
of,
and of course,
it's not there.
it's not there.
Right. So there's a lot of that too, where it's like, as you said when we were beginning to watch it, it's like a whole lot of do we even trust our own eyes and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Yeah, well there's a scene when she looks out the window. And I forget who she sees.
Earlier,
Yeah.
it's
It's
after
the same person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she
We have
sees
to assume that now,
she
right?
sees
Right.
a figure out the window and she doesn't look away.
It's just gone.
But the camera looks away and then
Right.
the camera looks back and it's gone.
Right.
It's like, well, if we're looking with her point of view,
Right.
then it just disappeared in front of us, right? So it's either a mistake or it's just meant to disorient you.
I think it's playing with the Giallo
Yeah.
themes.
Well, absolutely.
And certainly probably take some cues from like Dario Argento.
I'm glad you brought up Giallo. Continue
Point
with that.
for me.
Yes.
No, that's it. Go.
Well, this is
This is where my smart sounding ends.
well, you're absolutely right in that. I mean, this is very much a Giallo type film, and
Yes.
like it's a this sort of misdirection mystery. It's not a horror film per se, but it's
Well, it's a series of mysterious, thrilling events.
yeah.
It's suspenseful. It reminded me a lot of what is the name of the movie? I'll come back to it.
It feels
but-
gothic.
Jurassic Park.
Yes.
It feels gothic from the standpoint of the house.
Yes, it's
Right.
absolutely gothic, and and there's some. There are definitely like the use of dream sequences.
Yeah.
Slow motion at
Yeah.
times. There is definitely a very gothic, almost Hammer feel to it.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, and oddly appropriately named enough, Hereditary.
Yeah.
It has a lot of a Hereditary feel with you don't really know if something mysterious is going on or if it's just the film messing with you until a certain point.
Yeah, and even right down to the family connection.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Point for Gryffindor.
The movie was written by Michael Heath, who co-written, I should say, but he wrote a little movie called Death Warmed Up.
That's another good one.
Yeah, which is a Australian splatter gore flick from
Sure is.
from
course it
1984, I believe. And a lot of people, I don't know if Peter Jackson's on record saying speaking of any influence, but a lot of people think, and I think they're probably right, that Peter Jackson's early films were inspired in some way by Death Warmed Up.
Okay.
Specifically
Bad Taste,
and Dead Alive / Brain Dead, whatever
Right.
you want to call it. Yeah.
Hey, you know what? How about in a few weeks we just watch that movie?
We should.
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it.
There's another Peter Jackson film I love we could probably watch too.
Oh yeah, which one,
probably,
Chuck?
The Frighteners.
Oh, okay.
I thought you were going to say Meet the Feebles.
I do love that film
I've
too.
got that. With
But
we
Alex
could-
Keaton is in Frighteners.
Alex P.
Yeah.
Keaton?
Alex P. Keaton.
Oh my gosh!
Canada's finest actor.
Remember the episode?
William Shatner comes from.
Remember the episode where Alex P. Keaton is on speed and he's like,
Oh, God, yeah.
he's like all over the place,
Yeah.
rolling around in his in his
that
chair.
was in the credits.
Yeah.
man.
Yes,
That's
it
in the
was.
credits.
That's my favorite moment in the credits when he spins in his chair and then slaps his desk and puts his hand on his head. I love it. That scene with Alice P. Keaton on Speed is second to Elizabeth Berkley on Speed and Saved by
Saved
the
by
Bell.
the Bell. Yes.
Yes, those
Yes.
are
I'm
the
so
two best
excited.
drug scenes from our childhood.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Berkley was at.
They
at
both
Horror
scared me
Hound. We
straight.
should've gone. We
They
should've-
both
we should've met.
scared me straight.
Yeah.
They really did.
Yeah.
I never did any drugs.
Never touched a drug. This is
It's
N.A.
very
Foster's
likely
with drinking.
It's very likely we're all on PCP right now.
Probably, at least PCP.
I pipe it through the vents. I mean,
Yeah.
Your head is melting.
Yes,
and it's
it is.
awesome.
Yeah. So where
are we at?
Where were we?
Okay. Well,
Heath
we
Ledger
are.
wrote this. Or
We
something.
we are. Yes, Heath Ledger. Yes, dearly
Jackson?
departed. Michael Heath.
Thank you.
Wrote this, but yes, I just wanted to mention that most of the people who were involved in the making of this movie did not do much else. The director Tony Williams did. He was kind of a documentarian. He made a bunch of documentaries. Didn't really make any other features after this. Michael Heath didn't write much after this. Death Warmed Up. That was about it. A lot of the actors and actors, I guess they're all actors. Jackie Karen, the lead, Linda, she didn't do much after this.
Well, she still works. Today.
She still works, but she's only done a little bit of TV
mostly
here and
TV
there,
stuff,
and not a lot. I mean, pretty sparse work.
She probably got hooked up with a series gig.
A lot of Australian actors worked in Australian television. There was a pretty robust television production scene, and a lot of them I was intrigued to learn worked on a TV show called Prisoner, Cell Block H.
Yes. Oh my God! I've seen some of those.
It's about a woman prison.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes,
it ran from 79 to 86.
Yeah, it's basically it's like a soap opera in a women's prison.
Well, about half of the cast from Next of Kin were on that show at some point.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, they probably got killed off. A lot of them probably got killed off around like 82, and then they shot this movie.
Or they just
shot it on the off. Yeah.
Any idea how this film did?
I have no idea.
Okay. It made $47 billion.
I'm just wondering if it maybe it failed initially, and that's why we don't see a lot of work from any of the people on it. And then it gained a cult following.
Well,
I don't even know if it's got that much of a cult following. It's.
I mean, Quentin Tarantino likes it.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Of course he does.
It's just one that I kind of picked up on because of the Severin release, and it looked interesting. They called it an Australian Giallo, and I was like, all right.
Those are two words I recognize.
That sounds cool. And I blind bought it, and watched it, and it kind of blew me away.
Here's the thing. I think a lot of those movies, because Australia pays, the government pays for the art of film and TV and stuff much like Canada does. I think a lot of things, because Australia is kind of separated from everybody, it doesn't have it's not like in Canada, Canadian actors can come down here and we can go up there and all of that. But I get the impression, because a lot of, the people who made Patrick, those people didn't do anything much more, or at least the guy who played Patrick. So there are a lot of situations like that where you think, the movie, whether or not it really did well, I don't think it really mattered, because it's a government sort of grant. Didn't really cost anybody anything. It's built in, and for some people it's just like, hey, let's have fun and make a movie,
right?
And maybe in a way they were able to roll that into making educational films for Australian schools or whatever. Right. I mean, a lot of stuff like that can happen, and that's to a certain extent even happens over here. Like the guy who made one of my favorite movies, Carnival of Souls. He made educational films, and it's like he saw the Saltaire Pavilion and thought, I want to make a movie there. Somehow raised like $350,000 or whatever it was, and he made a movie. And it was just like, didn't really make anything else after. He went back to his job, and it might, I mean, obviously it's a little bit different because that's here, and he had to raise that money and pay people back or do what, or whatever. But over there, probably the same situation, except for the government's paying for it.
You watch this movie and it's so stylistically sound that you just wonder, why Tony Williams didn't really make any other features. I mean, I think about some of the cuts, some of the scenes, like the scene where Linda is dropping eye drops into Lance's eyes,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then it's almost like that Lawrence of Arabia match cut, where it cuts to the outside as soon as the drop hits his eye.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just this amazingly beautiful stylistic shot. When she runs out of the bedroom after, I guess, spoiler, after stabbing her Aunt Rita in the eye.
Shot from like 30 feet in the air.
Yeah, it's like it's this. They bring all the sound, her screams down to like this really low pitch.
Right.
Right. And she's screaming, within this low pitch while flying out of the room in slow motion. And then the shot from above, and then behind her down the spiral staircase, which is so fucking Italian Giallo, by the way.
That staircase got a lot of play.
Yeah.
Sure did.
And then out the door, it's like, oh God! I mean, that scene gives me chills every time I see it. Like, it is gorgeous, and it's just, there's so many moments like that in this movie that I don't know, Tony. Man, I wish you made more stuff.
Right.
This
was really good. I came into expecting
Patrick Swayze.
a little Patrick Swayze. So I was a little miffed at the end when I never saw him. But honestly, I expected it to be closer to the B scale.
Yeah.
Not knowing a lot about it.
Oh,
but
sure.
it was a legitimate suspenseful horror film. It didn't need a lot of money.
Right.
You know, they made do with the cuts, which were often excellent to confuse you or make you feel or think a certain thing that the director obviously wanted you to for most of it. So it wasn't like willy-nilly stuff.
And the surrealism. Like the old drowning man outside of the window, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That she's dreaming, she's having a nightmare. She sees the visions of drowning people. When you find out that this old man, that drowned, she had also had a similar experience when she was a child, where an old man had drowned and she discovered the body. So it's sort of like
that's
she
not
did.
right.
She did.
Yeah, she did.
No, did she?
Yeah.
Yeah, when she
throws the ball,
the red volleyball.
I thought that was her mom.
No, her mom is writing about
Linda
discovering the body.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Which
I was
I'm
off
having
on.
a realization now that body was put in the tub.
Yeah, to fuck with her.
For her to find.
Yep.
But she didn't
probably,
find
but
it.
she didn't find it.
Right.
I'm just piecing that part
So
together.
you're also there's also sort of this mental breakdown aspect of this movie that's at play, right?
Which is kind of like Hereditary.
Right. Is Linda just conjuring all of this up in her mind? Like, when she's looking out the window and she sees something, but it's not actually there. When she goes out of the bedroom, she blows out a candle very deliberately. You see her blow out the candle. She comes back in and the candle's lit again.
Yes.
Right? It's like, is she the one that's imagining all of this? Right. So it's just really effective from so many different angles.
Right.
So, okay. Let's talk about the end here.
Yeah.
The end of the show. The show is over.
Film Seizure is ending.
The film Seizure is
Are you
done.
sure you don't want to go a little bit longer? We're at a B+ right now.
Ooh, we should go
let's
for an
bring
A.
it up to an
We should
A.
go for an A.
No, I was just talking
Even
about the
if we get
entire
up,
series.
even if we get up to an A plus,
Well, if we hit A+, we're done.
The wrap up will get us down to probably a C again.
Very, very, very bad. We are terrible at wrapping stuff up. So, okay. Throughout the movie, Linda's reading the diary of her mother.
Yes.
And Chuck and I both were, ooh, look at that. There's a year, like a bound book with the year on the binding.
Yeah, she has like 15 years.
Yeah,
of
it's fantastic.
bound journals.
Yeah, I love it.
And all of her years fit into one page of her days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably 365 pages.
Yeah, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Fantastic. I love it. So she's reading that, and her mother says there's something evil in this house. There's stuff being, people are dying. The old folks are having accidents occur to them and stuff like that. And of course, she discovers that the doctor has been putting in something different as the cause of death. So she thinks the doctor's in on it. She thinks Connie's in on it.
We don't know who Connie is on
Connie,
the podcast. Connie's the caretaker kind of.
She's like the manager.
The manager, yeah.
She's the general manager of the home.
Yeah.
And there is a little bit of contention between Linda and Connie. A little bit.
A slight bit.
A
Enough
slight
to
bit.
make you wonder if she thinks she's
Well, one
involved.
of them said,
Right. They definitely play that up.
And one of them actually says that the other dislikes them.
Yeah.
But I think that was maybe more of she just hates me.
And this is
Right.
Connie's livelihood.
Yeah, it is. And she is concerned about bringing more people in.
Right.
We need the money.
But Linda is sort of contentious about that because Linda really probably is really thinking seriously about selling the place.
She doesn't. She doesn't want to be in her hometown again because
Right.
I mean, once you leave, you don't really want to go back home.
Right.
Right.
She's got a life to get back to.
Exactly. And so she's fine running out the clock, however long that takes.
Right.
But she doesn't want to extend the clock.
Right.
But anyway, so at the end, all is revealed that the lady that was dropped off, the ghost lady, is actually her Aunt Rita.
Yes.
And the guy who is taking care of her, you assumed was her son, but is like just a crazy person.
Yeah, I was
He's
thinking
the one
about
who's
that.
actually killing people.
She said nephew, but that doesn't make sense because
I think that he's.
I think it's just a ploy.
I think he's someone that she met at the
Insane
mental
asylum.
institution.
Okay.
that makes
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Right. So here we go. So now she says, your mother stole this place from me. She was the one who killed people and sent me away for it. And now I've come back to claim what's mine.
What's mine?
Right.
Yeah.
Is that real?
Yeah, I don't know.
So here's my thought.
That's a good. That's a
Here's
good thought.
my thought. Everything that her mother was writing in the diary when she was saying there's something evil in this house, she was talking about her sister.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
She couldn't name it, obviously, or the movie would be ruined.
Right.
Yeah.
But so she did discover that her sister had been killing people. Her sister killed the person who Linda found in the tub.
Yeah.
And she was sent away for it because they don't talk about any deaths in the last however many years.
Right.
And as soon as this woman comes back, the deaths start occurring again.
Okay.
So I think that is legitimate. I think it's
I
supposed
agree.
to be taken that way.
I agree.
Okay. So that's just Rita's twisted mind.
Yes.
Doing a
She's
little-
trying to turn it back, what she did back onto her, Linda's mother.
Yeah.
Rita could run for president.
Yep.
Timely jokes.
She'd
We're
probably
full
win.
of timely jokes.
Yeah, so while Rita's telling her all this, she's whispering in Linda's ear, who is standing against a locked door. And it almost looks like it's creepy, but it almost looks like she's consoling her a little bit. But all the while, behind her back, she's unlocking the door.
That's very Giallo too.
yeah,
The turning
for-
of the key and
I'm just going to call him Creepy Calvin because I don't know his name.
Yeah,
For
cool.
Creepy Calvin to come in with a hammer,
yeah,
and you have almost
like a
this,
mallet.
Yeah, it's a mallet.
Yeah.
It's a bloody. Aunt Rita's bloody. He's bloody. Somebody had killed Barney downstairs.
At this
We
point, you've
didn't mention that.
already seen Barney killed. You've seen Connie and Dr. Barton killed.
Not yet.
Oh, well,
Connie
they
and Dr. Barton are in
But
the moment.
Barney
Okay.
and
When
his
she runs in-
girlfriend since
Barney's
Linda
girlfriend.
left town.
Yep.
Yes. So he has this weird he's obviously a crazy person.
Yes.
He's like pounding the hammer on the ground.
Oh, like an animal.
Yes, it's like
intimidating her.
ritualistic almost.
Yeah.
Where, more like an animal.
yeah. Right. It would be like what a gorilla would do to keep you.
Yes, to
Yeah.
keep you in place. I am the
Right.
dominant
Yeah.
alpha.
Yep.
This is my kingdom thing. And so she tries to run away from him. He grabs her. And she somehow escapes after a little fight. You know, they're
Kicks
on
him
the
in the
bed.
balls, doesn't she?
He's like licking her.
He
and-
pins her on the bed.
Yeah, this is really.
and he's
actually-
like nipping at her. It's so. Ooh,
And then she
it's
kicks him in the
creepy.
balls.
And she kicks him in the balls and,
and
runs
then
away.
knocks him out.
hits him on the
And-
back
and-
with a chair.
And
Yeah.
that's when that just chilling scene of her flying out of.
Well, no, she goes in the bathroom.
That's right.
She goes in the bathroom and
That's when
closes
she
the door.
sees-
and
that's
she
when she
sees
sees. Yep.
she sees Connie and the doctor,
Yeah,
who now we realize the only thing they were legitimately hiding was
Was-
that they let Aunt Rita back into the house.
Well, I don't think they knew.
They
that it
know,
was
they-
Aunt
I
Rita.
think-
They knew.
Really.
They knew because Connie said to the doctor, "You should just tell her."
I think that.
I think they were hiding the family dirt.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, maybe they
I
didn't know
think
that
I
she was
think
back
they
in
were
the house.
hiding.
Yeah.
I think they were hiding that she was not dead.
Okay,
Not
that's fair.
dead, and the fact that she was a murderer,
Right.
which could bring small town. That could be a major,
Right.
major.
I
problem.
think you could
the
read that
reason
both
why
ways,
she
but
was
yeah,
in
with-
disguise was to trick them. They didn't. I don't think they realized.
Right.
who
Well, she had to trick
was.
Linda too.
Yeah. But Linda would be easier to
Yeah,
trick.
they'd be more complicit if they knew, and the
no,
the
I don't.
disguise
I
would
don't
be
think
like-
they knew.
Yeah.
I don't think they knew.
So they were hiding that. Yes, the
that
only
she
thing
that
they were
Aunt
hiding
Rita was still alive.
and they were still paying for her to be in the hospital
Right.
that she was in.
That's right. That was what all those errant payments
the
were for.
$250
Yes.
payments.
So
yes.
this is a really cool scene too, because they shoot, through the keyhole while Linda's against the door trying to hold it. Her aunt starts saying creepy things like,
Well, she's like, I can see you, because she can look through the keyhole into the mirror, which reflects
which
back.
is super cool, right?
That's so creepy. I love it.
So Linda, if somebody wants to take over here, they can. But Linda leans over and takes the
most dangerous comb.
So this is that moment. Everything's deadly in Australia.
Yes.
Even the combs are deadly.
because there's a fucking looks like an awl.
I think
at
it's
the
a
end of it.
hairpin. I think you're supposed to use it as a hairpin. But
Oh,
it is.
so you can comb with it and stick it in
Yes.
as a hairpin?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what I think it is.
It's
But
I just thought it
multi-purpose.
was like a comb
It can
slash
comb your
awl.
hair, it can keep it in place, and it can poke fucking shit out of your eyeball.
yes,
and
yes.
also make
Or out
and
of your
also
skull.
make also make very very nice etchings on wood.
Sure, yeah.
Because Linda's really smart. She realizes as the camera is showing us how, and
Rita.
lovely Rita, is viewing her, and she sticks this end of the comb through the keyhole, and that's the end of Rita.
Pretty much. I mean, that went
that's-
all the way through her into her brain.
And
Yeah.
this is when we mentioned, or Jason had mentioned
Right.
early, this really cool scene where Linda takes off, and we're
Just
filmed
shot
from great
very
heights.
differently,
It's
and,
awesome. It's awesome. Did you want to go from there?
No, well,
There
she,
was
well, she
also
gets,
a really cool shot. One thing, it was something during the late second act, I think, where Linda is looking at one thing, and the camera is basically on her,
Like over her left
like
shoulder?
over her left shoulder, and she's looking at something, and the camera is like showing us what she's looking down the hallway at. She turns around, and the camera comes back
Oh, yeah.
around. And stays on that shoulder, and that's a really cool shot.
It's such a well shot movie. It really is. And then so she gets away. She gets her truck. The truck had been locked up in the garage earlier, presumably by Aunt Rita and her crazy lackey.
Yeah.
But she gets in the garage and she just
Busts through that
motherfucker. Yeah, breaks the lock and she's gone. And she's like, all right, I don't really know where to go. So she goes to the gas station from the beginning of the movie. And there she meets
Nico,
a little boy who is the son of the proprietor of the gas station.
The boy who's in the back of the truck at the beginning,
of the
film.
movie, right.
Yeah.
And she gets there, and I love this because there's this little scene earlier in the movie where it sets up the fact that the payphone doesn't work.
Yep.
Right? But she's like, that's the only phone I know of. I got to go there and see if I can call the authorities, right? But she goes there. Nico's up in his pajamas playing pinball. Of course. I mean, he's like a 10-year-old boy. I would be playing
that's what I
pinball
would be doing too.
And she goes to try to make a phone call. Phone's still busted. So she moves one of the arcade machines in front of the door, and you get the sense that she's sort of in shock. She doesn't know what to do, and she's going to wait this out. Like if
she knows
if she
they're
waits
coming.
till morning, maybe someone can come to help her before more danger happens.
Before you get to the rest of this, can
Yeah.
I bring up two awesome things
Please do.
about this movie? I have a problem a lot with foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Foreshadowing in film often annoys me because it's so deliberate. And I know that there are people that need to be hit over the head with stuff. So I guess it's okay. But in this film, something that's going to come up in a minute, when Linda first shows up at the house, she's trying to close a window and there's water getting in and there's loose-ish wires above the window.
Yeah.
And someone says, Connie says you should watch out for the wires.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, foreshadowing. This is deliberate.
It's
right?
It's sort of a version of Chekhov's gun. Yeah.
Yes, but they leave the house without the wires ever coming up again.
Right.
Again, later or earlier in the film, when she is eating with Barney at the place again, I think.
Yeah.
When the phone isn't going to work
Uh-huh.
and the lady's using the phone, it's not the center of the shot. It's a lady screaming in the background that the phone doesn't work.
Yeah.
Which makes it really cool because I know I'm supposed to be listening to this for a reason, but it's not the focal point.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's a
Well,
cool
it's all
way
that
to do
misdirection stuff
foreshadowing.
again.
Yeah.
Both of those things are the elements of the misdirection of this movie.
Yeah. And I loved them as foreshadowing because they weren't typical.
Right.
But go.
Exactly. Yeah, they're
Yep.
not. Yeah, it's not like, hey, so here's this book that has everything you need to know
Yes,
about it.
yes.
You know, and if you need it, it's just going to be over here.
But also, if you're gonna have a scene at the end where you need to use the phone and the phone isn't, and the phone shouldn't work because you need the phone not to work for your story, it's better to set that up, right?
Sure.
Right. I just love the way they set
right.
it up.
And then if you're gonna set it up, let's not make it obvious.
Right.
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 And the way you did it was very stylistic.
it's like CYA. It's almost like cover your ass.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
filming.
And- but
You're not going to get me on this one because I put it in there.
right.
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 Exactly.
But it's such a simple thing.
Yeah.
You know, and it works within the context of the whole script as well.
When somebody is thinking of the totality of the movie and even the little things, that's usually the makings of a pretty good movie. Now, there are plenty of people who overthink those types of things, right?
Right.
And those are the people who are going to really hit you over the head with something stupidly. But then there are people when they think about the totality of everything, and it's like, okay, well, what are some of the other things that you see early in the movie, particularly at that diner, right at the beginning of the movie? That place is alive.
Yeah.
That is the last living place in this town.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
There are people saying stuff over here, and there's people saying stuff over there, and people shouting from the back. People, up front, it's like, where's my goddamn hamburger or whatever?
Light on the onions.
And
yeah, right.
And it's also the movie's final victim.
Yes.
It sure is.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say that later. Like that's the death of the town. The whole town
Is dead.
is now dead.
Yep.
Yeah.
When this film ends. But go ahead. You were just saying she was sitting there.
Yeah. So this movie it's a movie of bookends in a lot of ways too. You also have the scene early in the movie where she's in the gas station diner and she's balancing forks. Right?
Yes.
And she's balancing forks with the little boy, and the little boy's helping. He's like, "Oh, watch this!" And he puts another fork on top, and everything.
Spoon.
Spoon,
It's a spoon,
yes.
but yeah.
And everything is in perfect balance, right?
Right.
Everything seems right, And
This
then
is another glorious.
and then at
moment.
the end of the movie, she is she's totally dazed, and you know that there's another shoe that's going to drop. You could see 3 movies in your life and know that shit's still going to happen in this movie.
Right.
And she's stacking sugar cubes in a pyramid.
And it's kind of an elongated scene too, which
Yeah.
is great. It kind of
The little
lulls
boy,
you a little.
it's a really, really great scene because the little boy knows that he doesn't know what's wrong, but he knows that Linda needs something and he wants to help her. And he keeps
Right.
offering her things like ice cream and candy bars and things, right?
It's almost comedic.
Yeah.
He's just like memory, like just listing off these things that he could offer her.
He's
this
also
is like the humor in films that I like, as contrary to It Too that we recently talked about.
Yep.
They threw in the humorous elements
when they
in the
didn't fit.
weirdest spots.
Yeah.
This movie put in humor 100% where it belonged.
and in realism too.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry.
He also has his army helmet on,
so good.
and like an army jacket, and
And he's got a box of bullets.
Yeah, he's got like a shotgun and a box of shells on the table, and Linda is stacking sugar cubes, and she's got to the top level where she's 1 sugar cube short, and the dish that she's taking sugar cubes from is empty, and Nico pushes that dish away and pushes a full dish of sugar cubes towards her, where she grabs one and she puts it on top of the pyramid,
the last one.
the last cube, and it topples. And
But what do you hear when it topples?
Right.
You hear a low, distorted
Yes.
grumble.
yes,
And why is that?
it's because our
Creepy
crazy, creepy Calvin is driving his van through the front window of the convenience store,
Cackling.
cackling. Yes, and this is where you get the reintroduction of
Wires and
of
water.
Chekhov's gun,
Right.
of the wiring. Yes.
Yeah.
So you've got the wiring dangling from
It's sparking
it's
from
sparking.
the damage.
You have
the-
Nico under a table loading a shotgun.
Trying his best to shoot. But what does he do? He shoots the gas tank.
He shoots the
Yeah.
gas tank, so the gas
gas is
tank
coming
is
out.
leaking. The crazy Calvin, he shatters his own windshield with his mallet, and he's
just
gonna
to cackle at them.
he's going to cackle at them. He's gonna climb out of the windshield, But Linda, it's almost like she just kind of snaps back into reality.
Well,
it's
Nico's
fight or
yelling.
flight.
Nico's yelling at her, so she's frozen, and Nico's like, "Linda, Linda, Linda."
And he throws the gun at her, I think, or he slides the gun to her or something. And then she's like fucking Rambo, picks up that goddamn gun, and like fucking Rambo, walks up to the motherfucking van and just blammo head explodes.
Which
amazing.
Love
it.
I love it too.
Love
I love it so much. There's no prolongated struggle. There's no cat and mouse.
It's life.
Blow this motherfucking head
It's
off.
just I'm in a position of power all of a sudden. You fucked up this place. You've now put yourself in a position of weakness.
You've also killed all my friends.
You've killed all my friends. I have a shotgun. I'm going to fucking blow your head off, and I do. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
We're not done yet.
No, we're not.
So now we reconnect to the beginning of the movie.
Yes.
She has loaded Nico into the truck. She's tired. She's dirty. She's bloody. We see that point where she's looking at the diner. It's now we're back to the continuity of the first moment.
Yep.
Of this movie, and the fucking place explodes.
Yeah. So they drive
she kind
away.
of snaps to again. Is like, I'm getting in the car or getting in the truck. We're taking off.
It's the last piece of life in town is dead when the gas station explodes, and I love this this shot. So the car is driving out of town on the road, and the camera is in the truck bed, and it's facing out along the road outside of town, right? Like the diner is behind it. And I think the idea for this was that the car was going to drive off, and then the camera was going to turn and catch the entire explosion. Well, that didn't happen. The detonation went off sooner than they thought. So, but it's really cool because there's a sign, a road sign, where you can see the explosion reflect in. You can see the glare off of it. And then the cameraman's like, "Oh shit, it's already fucking blowing up." So he turns the camera back around, and you see the secondary explosion light the whole gas station,
tertiary, all of the extras.
Penultimate, ultimate.
Yeah,
right.
but it's
this
amazing.
Place explodes.
And it seems so perfectly artistic the way that shot is choreographed, but it was a total mistake.
And
I
then
love
run
that.
credits.
Yeah, and then run credits
Over the explosion. Perfect. This movie is
beautiful.
amazing.
By the way, if you're worried about Lance, he was saved.
Yeah, Lance lives.
Lance
runs off
lives.
into the night.
Most of
we
the
don't
old people live too because they all went on a field trip. Yeah.
And the van broke down. I feel like, or the bus broke down. I feel like that may have been a machination of Crazy Calvin.
Could have been Crazy Calvin.
Just to have fewer people to have to plow through.
To have to deal with.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Fair.
You leave only the people that mattered in this place. Yeah.
I just wonder why Linda needed to be punished by Rita. She's
Rita's
exacting
crazy.
revenge. Yes, she is crazy.
Well, a lot of revenge tends to be generational. We're not going. I mean, if I can't kill the person I'm most mad at, I'll just take out.
Okay, fair.
The next generation.
To me too, it feels a little bit like maybe Rita was just sort of in a state of resignation or lull, right? And the news of her sister's death probably reached her. The news that all of her sister's belongings were given to Linda probably reached her, and that probably angered her and brought her out of a dormancy. Yeah, would be my guess.
Fair.
Yeah.
News bad.
One final thought I have is the score for this movie. I fucking love it. It is by Klaus Schulze. Klaus Schulze was the original drummer for Tangerine Dream. He was only with Tangerine Dream for about a year. He left. He was on their original album though, their debut album, Electronic Meditation, because of course that's Tangerine Dream album name, right?
Right.
He left though and started a new band.
I figured it would have been like Green Apple Nightmare or something.
He started another band, left that band after a year as well. Klaus Schulze, I think, was really just destined to do his own thing. He made a bunch of solo albums. In 1980, he made a solo album called Dig It. And on that track 1 was Death of an Analog, which is essentially the main theme for Next of Kin. he was commissioned to write the score for Next of Kin, which he really wrote around that theme. He wrote a full score for it, which was actually rejected in almost in full by the producers of the film. They opted to just take little bits and pieces from it instead, and really most of the score is around Death of an Analog, but a lot of the cues and things were just sort of snippets of his full score. For a long time, it was thought to be a lost score. No one really knew what happened to it, but it was found and released this year, in 2019.
Interesting.
Yes, the full score. So a lot of the music that was not used in the film was released on this score.
Nice.
And it's very good.
You own it?
I do.
On vinyl?
On vinyl.
Of course you do.
Yes, I also
Of course
dig
you
it.
do.
When I first heard this movie or saw this movie, the only way I could get any portion of the score was on the album Dig It.
Right.
So I bought that album, and then the score came out, and I was like, oh shit, this is all just happening for me right now. And I bought that.
It's all happening.
Speaking of the sound, because we talked a lot about the shots and the intelligence of that, even the way the sound was used in this movie,
The sound
design is amazing.
Yep. Sound design is excellent.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Boyos?
Yeah. Boyos.
What else you got in your notes?
I'm good. I think I hit everything. Yeah.
I think I hit everything. There's one honorable mention of parts in this film.
Like when Barney's watching Linda just change clothes.
That was good. That
Or
was,
less
was weird.
thinking, or less drinking and more thinking.
that's good too.
That's
good too. But one of my favorite lines of the whole film is when at the end, when she's sitting at the table about to do the sugar cubes or doing the sugar cubes, and Nico's sitting there with his army gear on and a gun she asked him to get.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Did you and Barney have a fight?" It's just so great because it's like he has no idea. Like
He has no clue.
he has no clue. He's sitting there
He's
ready
trying to
for
get
war.
something
but
from
he's
her.
ready
Yeah.
for war, and
Yeah.
his first thought is, "Did you and Barney have a fight?"
Like Barney is like the fucking Australian Navy about to come through.
Yeah.
I also like that she immediately bonded with this boy who was probably a baby. If
Well, she was probably his babysitter.
maybe when she left, but he could have had been just a little thing. There's no way he remembered her, But they have this bond that's just immediate and cute, and it doesn't need any explanation.
Well,
It
she's
just
also a
is.
teacher.
That's true.
So,
That's true.
well,
Yeah. So you
I
guys
think we
liked
did
it? You guys dig it?
I like
dug
it a lot.
Dug it a bunch.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it quite a bit. It was nice and moody. I feel like this would be a good midsummer horror to watch.
Yeah.
Because it does feel like it's during the summer down there.
Yeah, it's hot.
Real hot.
Real
Real
hot
hot.
because they're having the sex scene and they're all sweaty.
It's all sweaty.
Sweaty and gross. It'd be like, get off. Anyway, no, I liked it quite a bit. I recommend it to anybody looking for a good little old dark house thriller.
Yeah. Cool.
I echo that.
Echo.
What's the thing in Catch Me If You Can? I concur.
I concur.
Be careful.
Ditto.
Be careful.
Since it's
We're gonna
fake ghost movie with Patrick Swayze not in it, I'll just say ditto.
Bingo, nailed it.
Oh, you saved our A right there. Yeah, you saved it.
Next week, Jason and I are going to watch another music movie. I'm Not There.
Oh yeah,
The Bob Dylan sort of movie. Sort of. Bunch of people playing Bob Dylan.
I've never seen it.
It's nice. It's a little anthology.
It'll be interesting to see it.
Cate Blanchett was nominated for Best Actor or Supporting Actress for playing that version of Bob Dylan.
Yep.
Richard Gere plays a version of Bob Dylan, a little black boy, and Heath Ledger. Bunch of people.
Yeah.
Ben Whishaw was one of them too.
Oh, I like him.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's next week. Chuck, few weeks. Let's do that.
So the Peter Jackson idea.
I like that. I like
you
that.
like
Let's
that?
do a Peter
Yeah.
Jackson
We should watch the Peter Jackson
matinee.
movies. Let's do it.
Let's do that. Yeah. So
All right, Jeff.
yeah, we're good.
Where can people hear us?
Save
They
your
can hear
grade.
us at filmseizure.com. We're new episodes every Wednesday.
Yeah.
Mondays are Monster Mondays.
Yeah.
We also every now and then do stuff like Film Seizure at the movies there.
Yeah.
But we also, so all that stuff gets uploaded to SoundCloud, which also gets sent out to places like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, as well as TuneIn and Spotify. I also upload stuff to YouTube because why not?
Yeah, sure.
Why not?
What else do you do? What else do you write about?
I write about stuff at bmovieenema.com.
Sure
That's
do.
Friday mornings.
Yeah.
You can go over there.
Where can they email us?
Filmseizure@gmail.com.
That's it.
That's it.
That's the place.
That is the place. Where can they follow us?
You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Film Seizure.
Fantastic.
We did it.
We did it. Until next time,
I'm Chuck.
I'm Jeff Arbuckle.
I'm Jason Oliver, and you have been listening to Film Seizure.